Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're gonna go over Java and Spring Boot. So we're basically just going to create a crowd operation application or API, and we're gonna connect it to a Postgres database. And finally we're going to test the API using Postman. So it's going to be a very simple project, but it's going to be really helpful if you're just getting started with Spring Boot, and yeah, why not? So don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content, and we can start. The first thing that you have to do is go to Spring Initializer, just type Spring Initializer in your web browser, and right here is where you create your project. So the first thing that you have to choose here is the builder. So we're gonna use Maven, and you can choose languages such as Kotlin and Groovy, but we're just gonna stick to Java. We're gonna use the latest version, and then the group is your organization group. So let's type Di Stefano since it's YouTube channel, and the name of the project is going to be an API. So yeah, let's name it CRUD API, and description, this is a CRUD API. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The packaging is going to be a jar file, and then we can use Java 21 or 17, just stick to 17. So yeah, let's add the dependencies, and right here, the typical dependencies that you use is Spring Web. To create an API, we're gonna use a springdata. Where is this? Is this one right here? Springdata JPA. Let's add DevTools in case, so Spring Boot DevTools, and we're gonna use Postgres. So we need to install the driver for Postgres. So it's this one right here. So with these dependencies, I think that's it. Let's generate everything, and then we're gonna save my project right here in the desktop. Is okay. Okay, that's pretty much it. So let's minimize this bar. This is the project. So let's just extract this file. And now we're gonna open IntelliJ. This is my first Java and IntelliJ project in my YouTube channel. So it's pretty cool because it's really Java and Spring Boot are really used in enterprise projects. And if you pretty much want to find a job, you're gonna have to know these. So I'm gonna try to make more tutorials for Java. Let's open my project right here. Let's go to the desktop, and it's this one right here, the CRUD API. And yeah, we can trust the project. Let's expand my window, and we can start working on everything. So this is the file tree, very similar to VS Code. Let's open my main. So yeah, this is the entry point of your project, and this is your public static void main function if you're familiar with Java. So let's just organize my code a little bit right here, and we're gonna test it. So I'm gonna run the project, so system out, the print line, and let's print hello world. But I think it's not gonna work because we installed the driver, so it's going to ask us to connect to the database first. But let's just try it. Let's see what happens here. And yeah, it's asking us for the URL. So let's set up the URL first. So you have to go basically right here to resources, and you go here to application, then you go here to application properties, and this is where you need to specify everything. So let's just delete everything here. Okay, so you need to specify this line. So this is basically just the location of your database. My Postgres database is hosted in the local host, so it's this one right here. It's in this port, and this is the name of my database. I'm gonna show you that in 1 second. So now let's specify the port. So server, the port, and the port is going to be 301. So now we need to specify 2 more things. So we need to specify the driver class. And then we need to specify hibernate. So Spring, the JPA, the hibernate. And yep, that's pretty much what you have to do here in the application properties. And just I'm making sure I don't have any typos. So that would be it. So let me run the project again. Let's compile and see if it's working, and we can see our hello world in the console. And yeah, you can see it right here. Hello world. Let me expand everything. Yep, you can see it. And this file, I'm just want to show you this file, the pom.xml file, is where you get to see your project version, basic configurations of the project, and then you can see your dependencies. So if you want to install external dependencies, I know my channel it's been more JavaScript specific, so you usually use npm, but if you want to install dependencies in this project, you would go here, and yeah, you can see that we have a Spring Boot the Spring Boot data JPA, which is for the database, and yeah, and the other dependencies. Okay, so now that this is working, let me minimize everything, and I'm gonna show you the database. So I'm gonna use the database from the terminal, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me expand. Let me make it this bigger so you get to see it, and let me adjust the size of the terminal. And I like to use the client in the terminal. When you work in a server, this is basically how you do. So you actually have to get used to working with the database in the terminal, and yeah, why not? So now I'm gonna show you. So now we have to log in into my database. So the default, once you install Postgres, the default database is going to be called Postgres, I think. So let's type PSQL. So let's type PSQL, and we're in right here. So the command to see your databases is this one. So you have to type L, and then you're gonna see all your databases. So you can see that we have my database here, my Postgres, and then we have my template one, which is the one I specify in Spring Boot. So I'm gonna go ahead and log in into this one. So if you want to exit the database, just type /q. So let me clear the console again, and then let's try it again. PSQL template one, and this is my database. So let me show you another command. So if you want to see the tables that you have in this database, just type /ndt, and then you're gonna see that you have I have a few tables that I was using before. So it's this one users and this one post, but we're gonna create more tables now. So yeah, that's pretty much the database. So we can go back to my Spring Boot application, and then we're gonna start working on my data models. Okay guys, so let's create the data model. So I'm just gonna create we're gonna work with nodes, right? So let's create a folder or a package right here, and then let's call it nodes, or just node, and inside here we are gonna work. So the first thing that we need to create is the data model, right? So node, and I guess that's it. Just call it node, and yeah, it's going to be this class right here, and then we need to generate properties, right? We need to define the primary key of the table, which is a unique identifier for every SQL database. So let's call it integer, right? So it's gonna be a type of integer, and it's gonna be this ID right here. Let's have two more fields. So these are going to be a string, which is going to be the name, and no, not the name, let's call it title, and then we can have another one, private string content. And yeah, that's pretty much it. In Java, we use annotations. So annotation is just metadata. It's just metadata that's going to tell our program what this class is for. So we have this entity, which specifically tells Spring Data that this is our data model. And then we're going to have another one, which is called table. And right here, we can specify the name of the table. So if you want to have a custom name, I'm just going to show you. So I'm not going to have a custom name. So let's just note that's going to be the name of the table in the database. And now we need to tell Spring Data that this is going to be our primary key. So above here, let's type ID, this one, and make sure that all of this come from Jakarta. Yeah, make sure all of this come from Jakarta. And now we need to have this one as well, generate value, and this is how we want to generate these IDs. So usually in programs, this has to be generated automatically. So let's just generate type and auto, and yep, that's gonna be pretty much it. So that was the first part. Now let's create a repository. So we are gonna go here, and the repository is going to be an interface. So right here, type a node repository. So yes, it's this one right. So we need to extend the repository from JPA repository. So JPA repository is this one right here, and then you have to pass your node. So it's my node, and then you have to pass the type of the primary key that you choose. So since we use an integer, so let's just copy and paste this integer right here and then paste it. And yeah, that's pretty much what you have to do here. So once we're done here, let's create the service class. So let's go right here, new Java class, and then we're gonna call it service, node service service, and this is the layer where we pretty much write our business logic, and we're going to inject the database right here. But before that, we need to do just specify this is a service with our annotations, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So now let's inject our database right here. So we have to call private final node repository. So it's this one right here, and then let's call it node repository. And then we have to create a constructor. So I think let me generate, and yeah, you can generate a constructor. That's the cool part about IntelliJ. There's all these cool features right here, and as you see, I just right click and go to generate, and you're gonna see the options. And once we create the constructor, we just need to specify the annotation out of wire, so Spring takes care of the dependency injection for us. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now we need to specify the CRUD operations. And one other thing that you have to do, I almost forgot, is go here to the nodes, and since this is a Java application, it's convention that you have private setters here. Pretty much in every programming language is a convention that you have this private, and then you specify setters and getters to state and get your data in your class. So we're gonna do that, but we don't really have to do anything. We just have to go here, right click and generate, and then you type getter and setter, and then you select all the properties that you want to select, right? So let me select all of them, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We have the setters right here. So we can go back to the node service, and below here, let's start by creating the first method. So I'm gonna create one to create a node, and then we're gonna test that really quick. So we're gonna create the repository. So we're gonna create the controller after this. So public, we need to specify that this is going to be a response entity here, and then we're gonna return an object. And then let's type it new node. We're gonna pass in a node, then type in here node. Now we just have to call the node repository. And thanks to the ORM that we're using, we don't really have to type SQL queries. So if you type dot, you're gonna see the methods that we have. So the method to save is this one, to create the node that we're gonna be passing in. So this node, and then you have to pass this node right here. So that's pretty much what you gotta do, really. And now we can return the new node. So let's type repos entity, let's pass in the node, and then let's pass in an HTTP status of created. Okay, so we're done here. We're gonna create the other methods in a second. So let's create the other layer of the application. So now we're gonna create the controller. So let's go here and type node controller, and we're gonna pretty much do what we did before, but this time we have to inject the service class. So let's type final here, node service, and then node service, let's type this part right here, and then let's create a constructor. So generate a constructor for this one, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So the annotations that we need for the repository are gonna be two. So we need to tell Spring that this is a REST controller, so type REST controller, and then the other one is going to be the endpoint. So we use request mapping for that. So request mapping, and here you're gonna specify the endpoint. So usually your endpoints are gonna be like this: API, then the version of the API, and then the name. So we're using nodes, so it's gonna be nodes. And yeah, I think this is it. So now let's go right here, and almost forgot, you have to specify out of wire here. So that's it. And below here, let's type our new method to create a node. So public response entity has to be a response entity. This one right here is going to be again an object. Let's type right here create. Let's type right here create node. And then we're gonna have request body right here, which is an annotation that's gonna tell Spring Boot that this is gonna come from the body request, from the HTTP request. So type node, and then open the function. And here we're gonna call the service class, right? So let's return node service. node service, this one right here, and then new node, and then passing the node, and then the other method is going to take care of everything for us, right? So yeah, so once we're done here, we have to do one more thing before I test this endpoint. I have to put the annotation here, which is post mapping. So don't forget these steps, so post mapping, and then the path. So I'm just gonna have it here, so wherever request that we send to this URL is gonna go here if it's a post request. So yep, that's pretty much it here. Let me restart the server. So my server was running actually, so I'm just gonna stop it. Okay, server stop. Let's go to the entry point, and then let's run the application again. So I want to make sure everything's running without any problems. So let's go here. You see the hello world, so everything's running okay. So now let's minimize everything, and let's go right here. See if we created a database before. So dt. So yeah, as you see, we have the node table right here in our database. So everything's working. So let me show you if we let me show you the database. So let's select from node, and you're gonna see that the database is created, and then we have everything here. We have the ID, the content, and the title. It's just empty. So yeah, everything's working. Let's go to postman, and then we're gonna send our post request. So hope we can create our first node, and then we can go ahead and go back and create the rest of the CRUDs. So let's open a new tab right here. It has to be a post request, and then local host is in the 301, and then the path was API B1, and then node or nodes. I think it's nodes, right? So let's go to body, let's go to raw, and it has to be a JSON request, and then let's pass in the title, and this is my node, and then the content. This is the content. So it should work. So we have 404. Let's check what's going on in the server. So I think it's node. That's the correct path. Let's go to the controller. API B1 nodes. I think we have to specify the since I have to put this slash here, since I put a slash on the endpoint. So that should do it. As you see, that was it. So we created the first node, which is pretty cool. Let's create another node, and we're gonna see too. As you see, the ID, the primary key, goes up because we specified that in the data model. So that's pretty cool. So let's go back to the database now. I want to check. So let's run the query again, and you're gonna see your two nodes right here. So our database is working, everything's hooked, we're Gucci. So let's minimize everything, and let's create the other methods. So let me just get rid of this terminal, and then up here. And what you usually do right now, I'm just making a node service, but what you usually do, you create an interface, and then you define the methods, and then you just autocomplete everything here. That would be the correct implementation, but I'm probably going to do that in a later tutorial, or in a more complete tutorial actually. So now let's create public list, and this is going to be a list of nodes, right? So node, and let's name it get nodes. Then we just have to return this node repository that find all. That's the method. And yeah, that's it. So let me just import the list. It has to be this one from Java. And yeah, that's our get nodes method. Let's create another one. So let's go for update. So let's public method repos. It's gonna have a response entity too, so we're gonna just return an object. So update node. Okay, so here we're gonna have to pass in the new node, the updated node, and the ID, because we're gonna use the ID to find the node that we want to update. So let's pass an integer here, and then the ID, and then also the node. So node, and then let's call it updated node right here. And then the first thing that we need to do is import optional, because we're going to use this data model right here. So we're going to have an optional node optional, and then here we're gonna have to call the repository and then find it by the ID. So find by ID, this one. So passing the ID. Yeah, so we pass in the ID, and then we have to just do a little check. So if we don't have the node, if the node it's not present, so it's present, we're going to call in an error, so return. If we don't have a node, let's return a repository entity that not found here. I think we have to specify that build too. So yeah, so let's find. So if we don't have a node, we're gonna return this, and if we have a node, let's create a node. So node the existing node, and here let's have node optional that get. So we're gonna get the node optional, and then we're going to use our setters and getters to update the node that we have. So let's call in this existing node the set. We have a set title method right here. So let's call the updated node and then the get title right here. So we're gonna do the same for the content. So get node the set content, and then updated node the get content. Simple, right? And then we have to save the changes, right? So let's call the node repository the save, and then save the changes of the existing node, which is this one right here. And then we can return the response entity as okay. So return response entity the okay right here, and then we can return the existing node to the user. Then you can show it if you're using a front end or whatever you want to do. So yeah, that's gonna be the update node. So now let's create a delete node, which is going to be essentially the same, but we're not gonna update anything. So public repository entity, and then let's pass in an object here, and then delete node. And then let's open curly braces for our method, and then we just have to pass in the integer ID. We only need this. And then we have to, again, I think I just can copy and paste this method right here. So optional. So yeah, we're gonna copy and paste this, and then we're going to copy and paste this as well. So we're gonna try to find the node, and if we don't have the node, we're gonna return a user an error that we don't found anything. And then if we have something, let's call the repository method that it's delete by ID. Delete by ID right here, passing the ID. Passing the ID, I'm sorry. And yeah, and then passing in the ID, and then we have to return the repository, right? So return repository entity that okay, and then the build. And yeah, and that's gonna be our delete method. And I think we have 4. We are missing the method to get a node by ID. So yeah, let's do it. So let's public response entity, and then we have to pass in an object again. So object right here, so get node by ID. And then we have to pass in our integer ID, and then open curly braces to start the method. And then similar like before, let's copy and paste this optional, and then we have to check. So we're gonna have this little check again right here, and then we have to I think I did it before to get the node. Where is it? It's this one right here. So yeah, so I'm just gonna copy this part. So I'm just gonna change this. So we get the node, and then we can just return the node, right? So return the response entity that okay, and then pass in the node, which we updated. And that's going to be pretty much for the CRUD operations in our service. So now we have to go here to the controller, and then we're going to finalize the application injecting these methods right here in this layer. So let's create the 3 methods right here. So public, we're gonna have a response entity here. Let's pass in the object, and then update node. Let's call it by ID. And here we have to pass in our path variable. oops, not mapping, path variable, path variable, this one. So we pass in the integer ID right here, and then we have to do like we did before. So we have to pass in the request body annotation here, specify that this is a node, and then just call it updated node. So there you go. Let me just get rid of this right here, and then we just have to return the repository, the service class. I'm sorry. So this the service, the get node by ID. So this one update node, and then we can pass in the ID and also the update node. And I think it's this is capitals. There you go. So yeah, that's the first method. Now we need to specify the path. So let's pass in this part right here. And you only have to do one little thing since we're gonna pass the ID right here. So you need to open curly braces and then put your ID here. So that would be it. And it's not post mapping, it's put mapping. It's this one. All right, sweet. Now let's go ahead and create the other methods. So you know what? I'm just gonna copy and paste this one and then delete node by ID. And here we don't have to, we only need the ID. So let's get rid of the request body right here, and then we are gonna have to name this delete mapping, and one more thing, passing the ID, and this one it's gonna be the delete node. All right, sweet. So yeah, this is gonna be the controller to delete the node, and the last one is gonna be essentially the same one as this one. So let me just copy and paste again. So here, and then it has to be get mapping here, and then get node by ID, and it doesn't have to be delete node, so it has to be get node by ID. It's this one right here, and we don't have any errors right here. Let me stop the server because I'm gonna restart the Apache Tomcat. So I think we're ready. And yeah, guys, that was pretty much it. So let's go ahead and postman. Let's go ahead to postman, and first I have to restart the server back up again. So let's check everything's working. We see hello world, so everything's working perfectly. Let's go back to postman, and we're gonna test the methods. So this is the first method, so let's expand, and then we're gonna have let's test the get method first. So let me just copy and paste this part, and let me check what was the URL. Let's forget. Okay, this is the node controller, right? So now that I'm checking, I'm missing one controller. So we need to, we still need to specify the get all nodes, right? So let's go ahead and do it. Public list, right here, node, and then get all nodes. And then right here, we can just return this, the service node that get nodes, and then we just have to specify the get mapping right here. So get mapping, so just like that. So it's gonna be default to this path. So yeah, that's pretty much it right now. So I'm going to restart the server again so we see the changes. So let me restart the server, make sure everything's working, and yeah. So now we can go back to Postman. So it should work right now. We're gonna see we have a not allow method. So what's going on here? So okay, I know the mistake. We don't have the slash. If we have a slash, an extra slash here is because of it's for our post request. So we don't have a slash. You see that we get all 2 nodes. So yeah, the get all nodes is working. So now let's get the nodes by ID. So get nodes by ID. So let's get this one. This is node number 1, and then if we get number two. So now let's create another method. So now let's test another URL. So we have to delete our node. So let's go ahead and type delete here. So let's delete node number 2. And yeah, I think it worked. So if we try to get number 2, we're not gonna see it. And if we get all the nodes, we're only gonna see one node. So yeah, so let's create another node. 1, 2, 3. Let's create a few more nodes. And let me check the database so to see how many nodes we have. We have 1, 52, 53, 54. I don't know why we jump from 1 to 52, 53. I think I introduced a bug, but yeah. So we still need to test the update path or URL. So let's go ahead and let's grab this one and then paste it. Then we have to specify this is going to be a put request, and then let's open the body because we have to pass in the ID and also the, and then title and content. So we're going to update node number 1, and let's pass in raw here. Let's open JSON. So let's say in title, update it, and then let's pass in the content. Update. There you go. So now let's send everything. So yeah, everything is updated. So if we go ahead again here to our notes, let's check. Now our note is right here, updated. And let's go ahead and check the database so you guys can see it. So yeah, it was updated. So now let's go back to Spring Boot, and yeah, guys, so this is the entry point of the application. So yeah guys, this is the entry point of the application. We created this data model. We created a repository right here using springdata. Then we created a service layer, and then create our nodes using our ORM. Then we created a repository and then specify our methods and our URLs. And yeah guys, that was it. Thank you for watching and enjoy your day.